For 20 years, most activewear brands competed on who had the best fabric, who had the most moisture-wicking t-shirt, who had the stretchiest leggings. But unfortunately, we know that this is not the be-all end-all. This isn't the magic moat that's going to save your business from your competitors. Anyone from any fabric mill in Eastern Asia or anywhere in the world can copy that fabric within weeks, if not days. But here's the truth. What we need to understand is that the future of activewear is not going to be decided by just who has the best material. It's effectively who has the most loyal and most dedicated customer base, who's built the strongest community. And in this episode, I'm going to run you guys through how established brands like Buff Bunny, YoungLA, Alphalete, Lululemon use the same exact playbook to create loyal customers feel as if they are betraying your brand by buying from other brands. Reason number one, fabric itself has become a commodity. Fabric innovations scale fast and they transcend borders very, very quickly. The idea of seamless, butter smooth, soft, moisture wicking, all of these fabric names that you love and you have seen over the last 20 years have become extremely commoditized, and any fabric mill, like I mentioned, can replicate it easily within weeks of actually receiving your sample. So this takes us to look at Lululemon, where over the last 20 years, people have been able to dupe and to knock off their very well-known Nulu legging fabric with almost precision level accuracy, but still Lulu as at the top because they're no longer just competing on price and on fabric. They're competing on loyal customers who don't just buy the product for the fabric, they buy the lifestyle. So the takeaway here is that you don't stake the survival of your brand. You stake it on building a concrete ecosystem and loyal customer base that keep coming back to you time and time again. Reason number two is that community actually expands your LTV. So it increases the lifetime value of your customer and actually shrinks and decreases your CAC, or your cost of customer acquisition. So why is this? We know that paid ads year on year are getting way more expensive, and actually the cost to acquire a customer is rising steadily every single year as more and more competition floods the market, and as these platforms begin to inflate their prices for impressions and traffic because their demand is actually growing. When you have a community who feel like they are part of a tribe, that sticks. So not only does it mean that they'll come back and buy time and time again, but they'll also recruit other people of like-mindedness to come and buy from your brand, which increases your cost or your actual LTV on that one customer and decreases your CAC for that new customer. And based on statistics, we can see Gymshark and their pop-up events is a CAC machine. What happened is that the customers that were tracked that attended these invites and these events ended up spending 2 to 3 times more in the lifetime of their experience with Gymshark than when compared to a regular Gymshark customer that didn't attend these events. So the truth here is that community directly influences margins. Your loyal customer base is going to reduce your reliance on paid ads and is going to make your organic growth completely skyrocket. You need to think less like a product company and more like a membership company. Reason 3 is that events actually create emotional switching costs. So what does this mean? When you buy a hoodie, that's transactional. I'm giving money for a product. But when you attend a run club, you have a lifting meet, or you have a brand event, that creates an emotional connection to that company. You're not just buying that product, you have a memory that's tied to the purchase of that identity that makes it much harder to switch the brands down the line. For example, when you look at Nike's Run Club, it's not just about the shoes, it's about belonging to something that's bigger than you. And when you've logged 200 kilometers in your Hyperflexes, purchasing Adidas shoes afterwards feels like betrayal. So all in all, events create emotional switching costs that go beyond just the financial, which is the most difficult thing to change. Look at starting small. Start with a small yoga retreat. Start with a pop-up run club. Start with a collab gym day, and then scale towards larger events and more emphasized events. Reason 4 is that gyms and spaces actually turn your products into daily physical touch points. When you have a daily ritual, a space to go to for a specific brand, you turn that specific product into a daily touch point that reminds you of it time and time again. The gym and the physical spaces turn these brands into daily rituals that consistently remind you of the brand. A good example of this is Alphaland by Alphalete in Texas. They've actually built what is known as the Disneyland of fitness, which is kind of like a pilgrimage site. Fans are literally flying across from the world, and this has allowed them to anchor the apparel entity to a physical space that they can experience with other people and create emotional ties and emotional connections. And a pro tip for startup brands, obviously if you can't build your own Alphaland, consider partnering or co-branding with a local gym, or having a section in a gym or a fitness studio dedicated to your brand where you can display your product. Reason 5 is that the lifestyle ecosystem actually outlasts trends. When you look at colors, when you look at fabrics, when you look at trends, when you look at logos, all of that fades, all that changes year on year. Fashion is a very fast moving business. But when you look at a brand like Vuori, they don't just sell clothes. They sell that laid back, relaxed, upbeat California lifestyle of surf, yoga, mountain. So when you're buying into the Vuori brand, you're not just buying into a fabric spec, you're buying into a new shared identity that you have. So for you as a founder, the first thing you should ask is, what lifestyle do I sell? Who am I trying to cater to? And then align your content, your ambassadors, your UGC, your website, and your product lines to align specifically to that new ecosystem. Reason 6 is that community generates organic UGC. If you look at people, when they talk about their favorite brand, they're not bragging about the fabric. Sure, that might be a selling point, but that's not the first thing they go to. What they brag about is belonging. It's the reason that YoungLA customers are so fervent about the brand. They post daily fits, not because of the loyalty programs or the insanely cheap prices that YoungLA might be able to offer. It's because they built a community, and that wearing the YoungLA clothing says something about themselves. It's a social signal belonging to a specific tribe. So in this case, UGC allows you to have free marketing that scales way faster and way better than any paid ad campaign can ever do. At the same time, creating moments that are worth sharing allows customers to come back to you time and time again. Consider limited edition drops, unique marketing tools, having collabs in with famous influencers and famous people in the space that people might not expect you to do. And YoungLA is the king of this. Last but not least is that micro communities scale trust faster than any ad can. Let's face it, as a startup brand, there's no way you're going to outspend Nike on ads. But what you can do is you can out-trust them in your specific niche, and you can dominate in that specific niche and then scale outwards. Look at it this way. If you're a brand that focuses on BJJ, you can consider sponsoring BJJ tournaments. If you're a brand that is in the CrossFit space, you can sponsor CrossFit boxes or local run clubs, so on and so forth. What happens here is that by focusing on your local community within that niche, you're going to outperform in terms of getting and earning the trust of your customers way more than an established brand is that is most likely overlooking those customers because they simply don't have the bandwidth to be able to focus on those customers because their reach is so wide. Whereas your reach is so narrow, it's kind of like trading and focusing on your corner of the ocean, trying to control the entire ocean. So here's the future, guys. Activewear brands that are going to actively win year on year are not the ones with the stretchiest leggings or the softest fabric. It's the brand that builds the most loyal community. It's the brand who builds the strongest ecosystem that cannot be copied, that cannot be stolen. Ads are going to get more expensive, products are going to become more commoditized, and ultimately the community is what is going to stick. But it's the products that build the community and that allow you to scale your actual loyal fans. If you guys want my personal input on how you can scale your community, how you can create a community off of the back of a solid product range, you can check the link in the description. I have a link for you to apply to work with me one-on-one where we can discuss all of this and I can give you a tailored plan on how to create your fashion business and how you can scale it to the next level. If you guys want to do that, check the link. And I say this from the bottom of my heart, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.